Good morning, everyone. It is January 19th, 2026. The Sharks have made another trade. They have acquired Kiefer Sherwood from the Vancouver Canucks. We welcome you to this edition of Teal Town Live regarding the breaking trade of the Sharks and Canucks making a deal. If you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow hockey fans all over the world and in Sharks territory on the YouTube page and the app. You can always follow us on the socials. You can always get us on tealtownusa.com. And if you want to support the pod, by all means, you can easy for me to talk today. Hit us up on the super chat right now, or you can make a donation on Venmo at tealtownusa. And yes, this is a little weird, and that's why you're getting a weird angle from me. So it is Puck Guy, it is Kevin Lacy. Sir, this isn't even working anyway right now. So, Kevin, how are you, my friend? There were rumblings, but this finally got over the hurdle.
All right, folks, you get to fight with me in video form now. You've been yelling at me for the last 45 minutes or whatever on Twitter. Come at him. Gloves are off, baby. I'm ready to throw. Just like Kiefer Sherwood. I have problems with this trade. I don't hate the player. I like the player. I've been watching Kiefer Sherwood since he was a San Diego Gull. I don't
Yes,
think all the people who were yelling at me on social media even knew he was a San Diego Gull or Colorado Eagle or Milwaukee Admiral or anything like that. This is where I'm starting out with. The Sharks are putting their faith. He's going to bridge the gap. Kiefer Sherwood's going to bridge the gap between Macklin Celebrini and Tyler Toffoli. A player who's 30 years old and has only played 2 full seasons in the NHL. Has never been known for offensive ability. Most people haven't even heard of him until this year, outside of the fact that he throws 6 hits a game, which is a plus.
Very much so.
Kiefer Sherwood's about to be our number 2 center. Let's get real, folks. Let's get real. 2 seconds and Cole Clayton for Kiefer Sherwood. That's an awful lot for a middle 6 to bottom 6 forward. On the wing, no less. We have a lot of wings. In fact, didn't the Sharks last year, Erik, trade Fabian Zetterlund for a second-round pick and Zach Ostapchuk?
Came back, yes.
Kiefer Sherwood better than Fabian Zetterlund offensively? Statistically, yes. But is he?
Oh, I think you get more out of Kiefer Sherwood in the sense of you can put him in the PK. You can maybe dabble him on the power play. You can definitely get him, on 5-on-5. Whereas that's yes, he was a decent PK. Yes, he was definitely a power play, participant. Uh, but I think this is where the mindset of Mike Greer goes. This is a guy where we could put him anywhere in the lineup, especially this year. And granted, yes, we take it with a grain of salt that it is a um, a rental for now. You know, it's tough to say. You can put him everywhere in the lineup. You can put him with Celebrini, and maybe in the mindset that you put him with Celebrini in the sense that you try to replicate the Joe Thornton impact with Jonathan Chichu. I know that's very lofty to say, but I think that's maybe what Drew's going with. But you can also use him in all sorts of situations. That being said, how injured is he? Because he's been placed on injured reserve. We already got that going. What I mean, Jules kind of calmed me down about an hour ago when this came down, where the trade was finalized and we're all good and everything. Um, it's like this one's a good move. This does, I mean, Kevin, let's be honest here. This does end the rebuild. I mean, this is running for for a playoff run, wouldn't you say?
I think that this could ultimately be a lateral move because we'll see what happens with Jeff Skinner. We'll see what happens with, I mean, I don't think Adam Gaudette is going anywhere, but still, I do think we're going to see a couple more pieces move out. So Sherwood could find a role that way. I have a really hard time believing that he is a top six NHL forward, even on the Sharks. I know there is the gap between Celebrini, Toffoli, and Smith and everybody else, but Kiefer Sherwood, he's a rush player. He's not a systematic offensive goal scorer. He had 19 goals last year was his career high. Again,
40
his
points, but
second
it was a nice year.
what?
I was saying 19 goals, 40 points, and a
It's
decent
an
year for
it's
him.
definitely a nice year, but the type of arguments people are saying, I got one guy telling me he's going to be the next Devin Setaguchi. I'll refrain from my honest thoughts on that, but Devin Setaguchi, folks, wow, wow, okay. So,
So does that mean we're going to flip him when we sign him? We'll flip him and sign him so we get our offensive defenseman.
yeah,
Is that what we're going for?
yeah, right. See, just a couple of days ago, people were saying the Sharks need to stay away from Kiefer Sherwood. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, that asking price is way too much. Now, why has the script flipped suddenly? It's oh my god, what a move by Mike Greer. I mean, I have really defended a lot of the Mike Greer trades that people have been upset over. So I understand that I'm in the minority on this one as well. But yeah, he's a rush forward. He's got unbelievable wheels. I mean, we know about his hitting. I'm not going to get into his hitting because he's clearly the most physical player on this team
sure.
immediately. And he hardens the roster, which we desperately need. And I think that is going to be his biggest impact. But I just don't see him scoring more than a handful of goals. He scored goals because he was in the situation to do so. He was playing with Elias Pettersson and who else in Vancouver? He basically was being thrust into the top line role because they don't have anybody to play on that. The Sharks absolutely do. Could the Sharks improve their top six? 100%, but this is not a top six forward in my opinion. So I don't. Someone saying he could still be a 30-goal scorer someday. He's 30 years old. What are we waiting for? Remember what we said about William Eklund at the draft all those years. What are we waiting for? Like, come on.
Yes.
Kiefer
I
Sherwood
I
is. Go ahead, Eric.
no, I get it. I I'm I am in it honestly of a toss up for this because it's like I think a lot of people are excited for this because this really does. I hate to repeat myself, but this really does signify the end of the rebuild
Sure.
in the sense that, now you're going for it. And I'm like, oh God, no, Evan, no, or not Yannick Hansen 2.0. The good thing I like about this is that you didn't give up any prospects because you're lose you the rumors at the time were a first and Quentin Musty, and I don't think the Sharks were going to give up a first because in case their season went down in a tailspin. But 30 31 in March, as Snack Attack is saying in the chat, you know, that's an interesting call to do. Now that being said, you have a guy with wheels, which is what you mentioned, guy who's been scoring, and a guy who can hit. You put him on there with Celebrini and Smith, maybe that's the turning point for them because now you have a guy on that line that has a little bit of everything, and you're also making sure that the kids don't take any stupid shots, which those are going to be coming, especially if they're running for a playoff spot and if they get in for a playoff run.
Yeah, but I don't
I
like.
still can't believe we're saying that, by the way.
Yeah, and that is awesome. And I think ideally he slots in on the third line. I mean, let's look at forget about the top six forwards for a minute. Let's look about the third line situation. You're talking about Adam Gaudette, Philip Kurashev if he comes back from injury, and
Right.
then even below that, a Stopchuk, Goodrow, Reeves. Like Sherwood's better than all of those players. I would argue that at this point of his career, he's better than Jeff Skinner. He's better than Michael Misa at this point of his career.
Right. I get
Someone
what you're
said
saying.
Graf could slide down, and I think they're about equal offensively. Statistics aside, I think in terms of the offensive ability, they're about the same. Um, yeah, I don't know. I do think though he is going to be the type of player that if the Sharks make the playoffs, such as you're alluding to here, and that the excitement is real, folks. That Sherwood is a guy you absolutely have to have, and that's where Mike Greer goes take a couple of seconds. Having this type of player during the playoffs is going to be a lot more important to us than a couple of seconds and a steady AHL defenseman. And that aspect, I fully believe. Again, I like this player. I don't mind what that Mike Greer is parting with these pieces because these are expendable pieces. The Sharks have been rebuilding for a few years now. They've got more on the way. That part is fine, but that package for Kiefer Sherwood doesn't quite add up for me. I would have rather seen those pieces move for a defenseman because now, if the Sharks, Eric, are looking to improve their defense, as we would hope and assume that Mike Greer is trying to do right now, that's when you
Right.
start looking at a Quentin Musty or looking at it's not going to be Chernyshov, but someone else in that pipeline and go, we're going to have to move that prospect and that pick out because we used up our 2 seconds on a third line player in Kiefer Sherwood.
And that's the big thing. If you look at and looking via Puckpedia right now, Sharks have technically two firsts. That Edmonton pick is up in the air depending on what they will do with it. That'll go to 2027. And correct me if I'm wrong. Goes to 2027 if they just stand pat. But if they move it, then the 2026 pick becomes theirs. Correct. I think they still have.
Probably.
I mean, but basically they have their own first. They have the Colorado second um, from the Blackwood trade. You don't have a third, but you have fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh picks. I mean, you have Florida's fourth in 2026. You have Montreal's fifth in 2026. You have Philly's 2026 sixth,
But those
and
fourth and fifth round picks aren't going to get the Sharks the defenseman that they need. It's just going to get
no,
them another defenseman they already have. And so that's
but my
where, go ahead.
no, that's but my point being is that Mike Greer's traded every Sharks own pick away except for the first and the seventh.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
everybody. Well, you know what though? At least Mike Greer, even though he's trading out picks of his own teams,
he's getting
he's
them
able.
back.
Yeah, he's getting them back, and so the assets that were given up for Kiefer Sherwood totally replaceable. Again, I'm not
Yeah,
arguing that point, and the Sharks should be moving those picks to try and improve the roster at this point. I just don't think this is it. That's all.
right.
That's where I'm coming.
And there's a lot of people. I think agreeing with you, Kevin, because I look at Ghost Wizard saying 2 second round picks and a prospect was not worth it. We need to bolster defense on the right side. Sherwood is a third line center. But at the same time, you have Snack Attack saying he does add physicality for the playoffs, and if he can score, that adds depth scoring to the lineup as whole. Being positively speaking, um, you know, definitely a toss up here because again, I think. Celebrini's play has definitely pushed this team into a a run for the playoffs. Um, I think there's no question about that, and I think that November to remember, we will keep mentioning about it, really changed things, and they've stayed in that race to go get it. But yeah, now I mean I don't know what's next, but like when Jules talked to me earlier this morning, the guys like Skinner, Kurashev, maybe even Gaudet, as you mentioned earlier, those might get moved. That's where pick up the picks back. Um,
I don't
but
think the
I look,
Sharks are getting the same picks back though. Like I don't think a team is looking at an Adam Gaudette who kind of like Kiefer Sherwood has spent a lot of time in the minors and only recently and now Gaudette's a little bit of a different situation because he started in the NHL, went down to the minors for a few years and came back last year for Ottawa. So it's a little different, but still I don't see a team looking at Adam Gaudette and going, I'm going to give you 2 seconds and an AHL defenseman for him here.
yeah,
It's an upgrade. Sherwood's an upgrade over Gaudette. Totally different types of players, though. Sherwood is more of the third line type of the prototypical third line type, but more moves are to come here. Greer's going
yeah,
to reshape this roster some more, and it really sucks that Kiefer Sherwood seems to have a broken right hand, as you mentioned. I believe it was Sarah. No, it wasn't Sarah Valley. It was someone else. Sarah Valley's tweeted about Sherwood's next contract is expected to be 5 by 5.5, which I think is about right, and that was the whole reason why the Sharks traded Fabian Zetterlund in the first place. So I don't see Sherwood coming back next year. So you're really looking at a rental here. Unless he performs out of his mind, which if he does, then I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm fine looking like an idiot. I want him to become this next Devin Setaguchi bullshit that people are trying to feed me. But up there it was. There's the E rating. Sorry, folks. But
oh boy. I
yeah.
think your mics went out. Double
No,
check your cord.
dang it.
I but yeah, you kind of mentioned what I was going to say via Frank Cerverali. For what it's worth, as Sherwood arrives in San Jose without the contract extension, teams interested in the player ballpark his next deal between for 5 and 5.5 for 5 years. Jeff Patterson, our good friend from Sakaris and
That
Price
was
and Rink White Vancouver, he was saying Kiefer Sherwood thanked the Canucks manager for getting a deal done now. He and his wife are expecting their first child in April, and he wanted to be settled well in advance of the baby girl's arrival. This gives them the chance to do that. So I see why they would do that. So
yeah, but also
other
just
news we
the
should
Sharks have a history, and I think it's the right move. And acquire your trade deadline acquisitions now. It gives you more time to gel, and you're
yep,
beating other teams to the punch, and you're setting the precedence. What I would hope in out of something like this is the Sharks go, we just gave up 2 first round picks to get Kiefer Sherwood. So if another team wants to get a better
second,
forward, you're going to have to pay up 2 first round picks or something of that effect. I hope that the Sharks
yeah.
set the market and don't, anyway, go ahead.
No, I get it. Just because of that. I was gonna say there is other news here. The Sharks have activated Vincent Desharnais from injured reserve, so he might get in today against Florida, which is also the season debut for Matthew Kachuk, who came off of IR today as well. Nick Leddy cleared waivers, so he has been assigned to the San Jose Barracuda right now. So we'll
Well,
see
there
how that goes.
Nick Leddy fills Cole Clayton's void, I guess. The Barracuda needed
Right?
another defenseman back there. Cole Clayton's been, I think, one of the steadier defensemen on this team. I mean, for the number of years that Ian and I have asked for a defenseman who just goes about his way, his game, and isn't noticeable, that's Cole Clayton. And the fact that most of this year I've been like, I haven't really thought much about Cole Clayton. That's a great thing. So hopefully, this Letty will show his veteran leadership and experience and be a good addition to the Barracuda down there because they do need him. I don't know if they need him for $4 million, but that's where the Sharks are. The Sharks are paying that cost. I'm not. So
Yeah, yeah. So see how it goes. I mean, obviously, doesn't look like we're gonna get Sherwood back in time for maybe the Olympic break. Definitely probably won't be here to make his debut on home ice, which the Sharks have one home game before February 26th, and that's Friday. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, he can get settled in the Bay Area with his wife, expecting, of course. So congratulations in advance there. But also can get with the guys and gel with them. So be interesting to see how this one turns out. And doing all of this before a game. The Sharks will take on the Florida Panthers at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Be on the lookout for that. We will have Teal Town After Dark with you on this YouTube channel. So do us a favor if you haven't already. First, hit that like button because that helps us out in the algorithm. Also, hit that subscribe button. That also helps us out. And when news breaks, we come on in some form. We apologize for the audio issues, but we wanted to get on here to make sure that this news gets heard and we can discuss it. And if you're watching us on the replay, leave a comment down below on what you think of this trade because this one's going to be an interesting one. Because I could see it going either way, but with no contract extension, a little bit of a risk, maybe a big reward for my career as the Sharks signified the end of the rebuild and begin a playoff push in mid January of 2026. Oh, goodness, this is going to be a good one. So, again, we'll be back with you later today following Sharks and Panthers. Until then, Kevin, your final thoughts?
my final thoughts are: get ready for a new world with a new number 44. That's going to feel
Yeah.
weird. I mean, it could be any double number. Those Sherwood brothers, the 11, 88, 22, 44 hike. So could you imagine Kiefer Sherwood goes, I'll take 88. I don't want to take Vlasic's legacy. We've never had an 88, folks. But anyway, yeah, this has been
We
your
have,
weird,
but, you know,
wild, fiery pregame show, basically. So we'll have more, not us necessarily, but whoever's doing Teal Town After Dark will probably have
right.
different opinions. So we'll see who's right. Basically, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I want this trade to work out and be fantastic. But oh boy, let's get a defenseman, Mike Greer, please.
Yeah. Get a defenseman, and would that consider making things making you even more confident about this team?
Yes, 100%. Because even
Yeah.
though, yes, there is that gap that everyone keeps pointing out with about Celebrini's offense versus everybody else, the Sharks are still in a playoff spot. They're doing fine. Let's address the bigger needs because we're not going to be outscoring teams 6-5 in the playoffs.
No. No. It's a different world for the playoffs. So that would be crazy if it turned into that. I mean, it'd be entertaining, but yeah. So, all right. For Kevin, I'm Eric. We'll be back with you for Teal Town After Dark following Sharks and Panthers. Until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real, teal. Have a great day, everyone.